if President Trump gets hold of this, you're deported. I mean, you're out. That's his whole philosophy. Wow.
The night rain had finally stopped at dawn when the Outlander crew quietly gathered in the familiar misty valley of the Scottish Highlands, a place that had, over the last decade, become not just a filming location but a living, breathing memory that held within it the laughter, exhaustion, triumphs, and tears of everyone who had ever set foot there. There were no grand speeches, no flashing lights, no fireworks, no journalists crowding around with microphones. Only a subdued, reverent atmosphere as though nature itself understood the significance of the moment. The pine trees stood still, the damp earth gleamed faintly beneath the soft morning light, and a ghostly veil of mist drifted through the valley as if reluctant to leave, as if it too wished to say farewell. Sam Heughan emerged from the makeup trailer dressed once more as Jamie Fraser, the Highland warrior whose strength, loyalty, and heartbreak had defined a generation of television storytelling. His old woolen shirt and frayed tartan jacket looked as though they had absorbed 10 years of history. His hair was tied neatly back, a look so familiar that for a moment, it felt impossible to separate the man from the character. Nearby, Caitriona Balfe stood silently, wrapped in a gray woolen shawl over a long, simple dress, her expression calm yet tender, a quiet strength radiating from her as a cold breeze brushed a stray strand of hair across her cheek. When Sam saw her, they didn't speak. They didn't need to. They simply exchanged a look, a soft, knowing smile, a look heavy with the weight of 10 shared years, thousands of hours spent side by side, through cold mornings, sleepless nights, laughter that healed exhaustion, and tears shed for scenes that cut too close to the bone. It was the final scene. Jamie and Claire, standing side by side, looking toward a peaceful horizon after a lifetime of storms. The world they had built, a world of love, loss, rebellion, and timeless connection, was about to fade into memory. When the director finally called, "Cut," there was no immediate applause. Instead, a long silence filled the air, the kind of silence that says more than words ever could. Some of the crew stood motionless, some quietly wiped tears from their eyes. Others smiled faintly as though comforting themselves with the thought that endings are simply disguised beginnings. And then, slowly, they began to gather, sound engineers, camera operators, costume assistants, moving closer, some crying, some laughing, hugging each other like people who had just buried something precious but knew it had to be done. Sam turned to Caitriona, his voice low and unsteady. "It's over." She nodded, her eyes shining with tears. "We've come a long way, Sam. A long way," he replied, exhaling as though releasing 10 years of breath. 10 years, a lifetime. Outlander had premiered in 2014, adapted from the acclaimed novels by Diana Gabaldon. What began as a daring story about Claire Randall, a British nurse who accidentally travels back from the 1940s to the 18th century, evolved into a phenomenon that transcended genres, part romance, part historical epic, part spiritual odyssey. Yet, what truly made the series unforgettable was not just its sweeping landscapes or intricate plot lines, but the human soul at its center. The bond between Claire and Jamie Fraser. The chemistry between Sam and Caitriona was something almost alchemical, born of respect, mutual trust, and a rare emotional authenticity that no acting school could teach. They didn't simply play roles. They became these characters, breathing into them a humanity so vivid that millions of viewers around the world felt as though they were witnessing something real, something eternal. A few days after filming wrapped, Sam sat in a London studio for a quiet interview, his tone reflective. "I've lived with Jamie Fraser for 10 years, he said softly. "It's not just acting. It's been a process of growing up, of learning how to carry responsibility, how to hold on to my values in an industry that often tests them, and how to love a character so deeply that he becomes a part of your inner world. Jamie taught me courage, honor, and the quiet strength that comes from choosing love even when the world is falling apart." Sitting beside him, Caitriona nodded. "Claire is a part of me," she said, smiling faintly. "Sometimes when I hear someone call out, 'Claire,' in public, I instinctively turn my head. It's as if she still lives somewhere inside me. She's in my blood, in my memory, in my heart." Saying goodbye to her feels like saying goodbye to a version of myself. They both smiled, but their eyes betrayed the melancholy of loss. Endings, even when expected, always arrive with a quiet ache. They had known this moment was coming for years, yet no amount of preparation can ever truly make one ready to let go of something that has defined so much of one's life. A few months before that final day, they had shared a private conversation in a dimly lit Edinburgh bar, one of those old places with creaking wooden floors and the faint smell of whiskey and rain-soaked coats. It was late, long after a grueling day of filming, when exhaustion blurred into reflection. Caitriona, swirling the amber liquid in her glass, had asked softly, "What do you think you'll be like when it's all over?" Sam had paused, staring into the firelight. "I'll probably spend a few months doing nothing," he said. "Walking, writing, maybe disappearing into the hills. But after that, I'm not sure. Jamie Fraser is a big shadow. It won't be easy to walk out of it." Caitriona chuckled lightly. "Claire's shadow is no smaller, but maybe that's what we have to do. Learn to step out of it." He nodded, his eyes thoughtful. "True, but we should also be grateful for having lived in it. Not everyone gets to inhabit the same soul for 10 years. They had raised their glasses then. Quiet toast, not to fame or success, but to endurance, to companionship, to the strange intimacy of two people who had lived other lives together. To the public, Outlander was a romantic epic. Sweeping battles, candlelit passion, breathtaking Scottish vistas. But behind that beauty lay a decade of sheer, often invisible labor. 12 to 14-hour shooting days, unpredictable weather, endless retakes. There were times when the glamour evaporated, leaving only physical exhaustion and emotional vulnerability. Caitriona remembered filming a childbirth scene in season 2. "I was lying on a freezing wooden floor for 3 hours, screaming, shaking. It was winter, and the cold was so intense I thought I might faint. But then I saw Sam outside, fighting through his own scene, mud on his face, his ankle twisted from a fall, and I thought, if he's still going, so can I." Sam, for his part, remembered the same day. "I'd sprained my ankle badly during a horseback sequence, but we couldn't afford to stop. I taped it, gritted my teeth, and kept going." Outlander was like that, relentless, but worth every bruise. The bond between them was forged not in the comfort of fame, but in those countless moments of mutual struggle and wordless understanding. Over the years, their partnership had evolved beyond professional respect into something deeper. A friendship shaped by shared fatigue, laughter that cracked through tension, and moments of silence where no explanation was needed. They had seen each other at their strongest and their most fragile, and somehow that honesty had translated through the screen, becoming the invisible force that made Jamie and Claire's love story feel achingly real. As the seasons unfolded, they also watched themselves change. Fame came, sometimes warmly, sometimes cruelly. The show drew a fiercely devoted audience who saw in it reflections of their own longing for connection, for timeless love in an age of impermanence. Sam spoke of fans who told him that Jamie Fraser had helped them through grief, heartbreak, illness, that his character's steadfastness had given them hope. "That's when you realize," he said, "that this isn't just television. It's something that touches real lives." Caitriona nodded, recalling letters from viewers who thanked her for portraying a woman who was intelligent, independent, flawed, and deeply human. Claire wasn't a fantasy. She was a reminder that strength doesn't mean perfection. It means compassion. Now, standing on that misty Scottish hillside for the last time, they carried all those invisible stories within them. The fans, the crew, the landscapes, the ghosts of their characters. When the final camera stopped rolling, there was no dramatic farewell, just quiet gratitude. The valley seemed to listen, the mist lingering like breath on the earth, and for a moment, it felt as though time itself had paused, as though the world was gently closing the book on a story that would never truly end. Because even when sets are dismantled and costumes folded away, the essence of something loved never disappears. It lingers in memories, in hearts, in the quiet places where fiction and life intertwine. For Sam and Caitriona, saying goodbye to Outlander was not just the end of a series. It was the closing of a decade-long chapter of personal evolution. They had entered it as actors searching for roles and left it as storytellers who had lived entire lives through their characters. Outlander gave them not just fame but depth, not just recognition but reflection. A reminder that art, at its best, demands the full measure of one's humanity. And as the mist finally lifted that morning, revealing the green slopes of the highlands bathed in pale sunlight, there was an almost sacred stillness in the air. The story of Jamie and Claire Fraser had been told, but the love, the legacy, and the lessons of that journey would endure.
Coda.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
people that she loves.
She just respects.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a celebrity to give you a tattoo, who would it be?
Dame Judi Dench.
I came home with bruised legs, but I had no regrets, because Jamie was worth every ache, every bruise, every sleepless night that the journey demanded. Those pains, both physical and emotional, were not just the marks of endurance but the symbols of devotion, the quiet reminders of what it meant to live fully inside a story that transcended fiction. They were the scars of belonging, of creation, of love that lived between actor and character, between human and myth. For when it all ends, when the lights dim and the final line is spoken, they do not merely lose a job. They lose a part of their identity, a piece of their soul that has lived, breathed, and aged within another world. The decision to end Outlander was not one born of exhaustion or numbers, but of intention, of grace. At a press conference thick with nostalgia, the executive producer, with eyes glistening under the lights, said softly, "We're not ending Outlander for financial or ratings reasons. We're ending it because the story has reached its natural conclusion, and because Sam and Caitriona both feel it's time to give the characters a well-deserved rest." It was the kind of honesty that only comes when one has lived too long inside a miracle. When Caitriona was asked how she felt about the decision, she smiled with that composed sadness that only comes when the heart is quietly breaking, and said, "It's a privilege to be able to say goodbye at the right time. So many series never get that. They're canceled mid-run, or they drag on until they lose their soul. We're lucky to be able to end this with dignity." Sam nodded beside her, his voice steady yet threaded with emotion, adding, "We always said that if Outlander were a book, we wanted to be the ones to close the last page with our own hands. And so they did. On the final day of filming, when the last scene had been shot and silence fell over the set that had once been filled with laughter, shouting, and the rhythm of creation, the crew gathered to present Sam and Caitriona with a time capsule. Inside it lay the distilled soul of 10 years of storytelling. Claire's scarf from season 1, frayed but still holding the scent of Scottish rain. Jamie's military badge, heavy with history. The first copy of the original script, now softened by time and handling. A behind-the-scenes photograph from season 3, taken during the Cape Town shoot, where the sea wind had tangled their hair and freedom filled their lungs. And handwritten notes from each crew member, words of gratitude, love, and farewell. Caitriona lifted the scarf gently, her fingers trembling as they traced its threads. She pressed it to her lips and whispered, "This is more than a prop. It's a part of me." The scarf had once been merely fabric, but over the years it had absorbed her tears, her laughter, her breath. It had become a vessel of memory. Sam then took the script, his thumb brushing over the faded title, and read Jamie's first line aloud. His voice cracked, the room fell silent, and then, with reverent care, he folded the page and returned it to the box. "That's how I want to remember him," he said quietly, with the words that made him real. He closed the lid as though performing a sacred ritual, sealing a decade of life between paper and silence. When asked later what Outlander's greatest legacy would be, Sam did not hesitate. "It's love," he said, looking out towards the audience, as if addressing not journalists, but the millions of unseen hearts who had walked with him through time. Not just the romantic love between Jamie and Claire, but the love among everyone who came together to make this. The love that exists between people when they build something bigger than themselves. Caitriona added softly, "The fans, the letters from all over the world. The stories from people who told us the show helped them survive something, the loss of a loved one, the loneliness of a difficult year, the feeling that love could be real again." Claire and Jamie gave them hope, and that's worth more than any award. And indeed, the legacy of Outlander extends far beyond its scripts, costumes, and sets. From Canada to Japan, from New York to Rome, from the quiet of Scottish villages to the roar of fan conventions, the Outlander community has become its own living world. A global family of strangers united by imagination, emotion, and the strange intimacy of shared storytelling. It became more than a series. It became a sanctuary. Friendships were born from it. Love stories began under its banner. And many found in Claire and Jamie a mirror for their own longing. To be seen, to be chosen, to be loved despite time and circumstance. As for the future, it was not an ending but a gentle turning of the page. Caitriona Balfe would continue to direct, her artistic voice only growing louder, with 2 independent projects already whispering their beginnings. Sam Heughan would step into a darker world, starring in a psychological thriller as a psychiatrist locked in a dangerous duel of minds with a serial killer. Proof that even when Outlander ends, its echoes will shape everything they touch. Yet both of them, in separate interviews and together, said the same thing: Outlander will always live within them. "I don't think I'll ever really say goodbye to Jamie," Sam said. "He's part of me now, like a shadow or a memory that breathes." Caitriona smiled and added, "Claire is the dream I lived, and she'll always live somewhere inside my mind. Some roles don't end. They just rest. They never say goodbye, not truly. They only say goodbye for a while, because, as the series once reminded us, there are no real endings, only pauses before the journey begins again in another form." And perhaps that's what Outlander always meant. That love, once awakened, never dies. It simply changes its shape. The final scene of Outlander was a quiet one. No sweeping orchestral crescendo, no elaborate montage. Just Jamie and Claire standing together, side by side, looking out across the Scottish horizon as the afternoon light spilled over the hills, painting the sky with that impossible shade of blue that only the Highlands can produce. Jamie turned to Claire and said, with the weight of centuries in his voice, "Everything will change." She looked up at him, eyes steady, lips trembling just slightly, and replied, "But we have each other." He smiled and she added softly, "And that's enough, Jamie, always enough." The camera lingered, pulling back slowly, allowing the landscape to reclaim them. The wind rippled through the heather, the hills stood ancient and unbroken, and the 2 figures faded gently into the wild. A love story dissolving into the timeless breath of Scotland. Wild, strong, immortal, and then, at last, fade to black. And yet, even as the screen went dark, no one watching truly felt that it was over. Because Outlander, in its truest essence, was never just a television series. It was a meditation on the human spirit, on endurance, on devotion that defies the boundaries of time and reason. It was about how 2 souls, bound by fate and torn by circumstance, could keep finding each other again and again, in different lives, in different centuries, through every loss and resurrection. For Sam and Caitriona, and for every viewer who walked with them, it became a shared act of remembrance. A collective heartbeat that said love is not fragile, it is infinite. When the cast and crew walked away from the set for the final time, the air hung heavy with the scent of rain and earth, as if Scotland itself were watching them go. Someone whispered, "We'll see each other again." And someone else replied, "Aye, through the stones." And that was the truth of it, because the world Outlander created cannot be buried. It exists now in the quiet spaces of those who believed in it, in the way fans still quote its lines, in the way strangers still find courage in Claire's defiance or tenderness in Jamie's loyalty. Its story has ended, but its soul, its heart, beats still, soft but unyielding, somewhere beyond time, where love remains enough. I came home with bruised legs, but I had no regrets, because Jamie was worth every moment of exhaustion, every ache that came with the weight of saying farewell to something larger than life. Those bruises, both physical and emotional, were marks of devotion, quiet reminders of what it meant to live within a story that had become a second home. When Outlander finally reached its end, it wasn't just a show concluding. It was an era gently folding into memory. The decision to end it as the executive producer said, was not forced by numbers or pressure, but born of love and respect for the story's integrity. "We're not ending Outlander for financial or ratings reasons," he explained. "We're ending it because the story has come to its natural close, and because Sam and Caitriona want to let the characters rest." There was dignity in that decision, a rare gift in a world where stories often outlive their spirit. Caitriona put it beautifully, "It's a privilege to say goodbye at the right time. Many shows never get that chance, they fade or are cut short. We've been lucky." Sam, ever thoughtful, added, "We always said that if Outlander were a book, we wanted to close the final page with our own hands." On the last day of filming, the cast and crew marked the occasion with a quiet, heartfelt ritual. A time capsule filled with relics of the decade they had lived together. Inside were pieces of history. Claire's scarf from the first season, soft with memory. Jamie's military badge, tarnished but proud. The original script that had started it all. A photograph from their time in Cape Town, and handwritten notes from every member of the team. When Caitriona lifted the scarf, she began to cry softly. "This isn't just a prop," she said. "It's part of me." Sam opened the script, read Jamie's very first line, and his voice broke before he closed the page and returned it to the box. "This is how I'll remember him," he murmured, sealing the capsule as if closing a sacred story. It was, when asked about Outlander's true legacy, Sam didn't hesitate. "It's love," he said. "Not just the love on screen, but the love between all of us who created it. The crew, the fans, the writers. It's something greater than ourselves." Caitriona agreed. The letters from fans, from people who found hope or comfort in Claire and Jamie's story, mean more than any award. It's extraordinary to know that something we made could help someone through pain. Across the world, Outlander had become more than a television series. It was a living connection. From Canada to Japan, from Edinburgh to New York,